Yes, from automation, you're a fucking idiot as well. See ya.
Okay, guys, welcome to this evening's or this morning's latest video. Rocky's back, and this time we're going to be doing a deep dive on Dash and also a bonus BCash bash chat as well. I know Rocky's particularly excited to do that. I'm looking forward to it too. So, Rocky, back again after our great video we did a few weeks ago. How are you, mate?
Excellent. Thanks for having me back, Luke.
It's always a pleasure, man. I know we're going to learn something and share some great insights and stuff. So, first and foremost, BCash, Bitcoin Cash, BCH. Where do we begin with that? What's the latest on there? And if you want, chuck in some BSV news.
I don't have any news on BSV, but it wouldn't be a show with Luke without bashing BCash a bit. Yeah, I just call them like I see them, right? So let me see if I can move this out of the way. All right, so I'm sharing my screen now. I don't know.
Understood.
If you want to lock it on me or what.
I think is it locked on you? I think it is. It should just lock on your shared screen, actually. I think it just takes priority.
Okay, well, we've been talking about doing this show for a few weeks now, and this article came out around the time when we first started talking about it, and that's why I wanted to talk about it on your show, right? Because it was out brand new, at least it was back then 3 weeks ago. So this was a article on Cointelegraph that the writer interviewed one of the devs from BCash, and there used to be a quote in here that they have since taken out, and the direct quote from the developer was that BCash cannot really mine 32 meg blocks, although that is their maximum block size. It said that if they tried to mine blocks over 2 megs, that the nodes would trip over themselves.
Wow.
So basically what he's referring to is, the block propagation, it would take too long to propagate blocks of that size. It would probably take, the good part of 10 minutes. And if it takes 10 minutes to propagate a block and you have new blocks coming in every 10 minutes, that doesn't really work. Because once a block is found, all the miners all around the world need to be notified of that instantly, virtually instantly, within a second or two, so they can all start working on the next block. Well, if it even takes 5 minutes to propagate to the other side of the world, now the miners on the side of the world where the block was found, they now have a 5-minute advantage to mining the next block. So basically what this does is it promotes miner centralization, and anytime you get more centralized in Bitcoin or in a decentralized network, it's very bad for a decentralized network to get more centralized. So it's not a really very good thing. And in this article, it looks like he was also talking to Roger Ver, and let's see, that was down below. But right here, the writer of the article starts talking about how BCash's block size average stays around 1 megabyte or less. Well, that's not really true from what I see. If you go look at their block size here, and here's a website that has the latest recent blocks, you could see that they're lucky to get 1/4 of a meg, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So this is less than 1/4. This is tiny, minuscule. Here's 1/4 meg. Just barely over 1/4. Here's just under 1/4. But the vast majority of them are well under 1/4 meg. They don't average a meg in no way.
Right.
And then he quoted Roger down below here. Let's see, where does he say it? Oh, so Roger talks about the 1 meg block size and censorship of discussion of Bitcoin, right? Well, where is he getting that from? Is he living in the past? Is he living 2.5 years ago? Because that's the last time Bitcoin had a 1 meg block size limit.
I remember I think nowadays, I saw him on some recent video. He was showing one of his doing one of his Bitcoin Cash demonstrations, and he was saying now he says it's just over 1 megabyte. He's now changed his little thing, but I could have misheard that because I don't really see much of his videos. But yeah,
Well, he's quoted here to saying the
yeah,
1 meg block size limit, and
yeah,
this was
yeah.
just 3 weeks ago. This article came
Oh,
out.
damn, that's quite recent.
So if you go look at the block size on Bitcoin, here you see that's over a meg. That's 1.3. This is barely over. Here's a couple under. Here's 1.3, 1.2. Let's see here.
So
I did see some
1.3
bigger ones.
somewhere.
Here's a 1.5. So that's 1.5 megs. And I
Okay.
see in here, 2-3 times a week, I'll see blocks that are about 2 megs. The block size is basically 2 megs right now, the limit in Bitcoin, because of the SegWit 0 that we're on right now. The next version, SegWit 1, it will go up to 4. But actually right now, the nodes are programmed to accept a block up to 4 megs right now. It's just that the current version of SegWit has to be, SegWit is backwards compatible, right? So it has to be compatible with all the nodes before SegWit
Right.
that are still running the code that came out before SegWit. So with SegWit 0, it could only fool the old nodes into thinking that the current block is 1 meg if the block is up to about 2 megs. It can only fool it into 1 meg. But with the next version of SegWit, it will be able to make blocks up to 4 megs and still fool the old nodes that it's still 1 meg. So it's still a valid block on the nodes running the old software. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, understood.
Okay, so that's where we are with that. It's actually 4 megs, but right now with SegWit, it's really about 2 megs.
Cool.
So, but I've heard him so many times after it's been 2 megs, where he still talks about it being 1 meg.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the show goes on.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else you want to add to BCash news or anything, or anything?
No, I just wanted to point out
Okay,
how that
okay.
developer on BCash was quoted this,
Yeah.
saying that the nodes trip over themselves. So basically, they can't, mine a block that big. Oh, in case, actually, I could show you some examples. Actually, I did have something else. This is a tweet from the 4 Satoshis, and these guys are awesome. If you're not following the 4 Satoshis, you should be following the 4 Satoshis, all you people out there. So this actually refers to that, how this shows their mempool being chewed away at from about 18 megs. Now, at this point, they had 32 meg blocks. But if it's backed up 18 megs, why couldn't this get all cleared with 1 block? Because the miners are afraid to mine blocks that big. In fact, it took 279 blocks to clear this 18 megs worth of transactions. So that's the block size averaging 0.065 megs per block. Why? Why can you not mine bigger blocks? And so we could go back and look at some history here. If we switch this to BCash and go back about 6 months, I believe. So here you can see a big spike. Looks like this is that one that went up to 18. So we just had a look at that. Let me zoom in on this here. And if we wait a couple seconds, there we go, get more detail. So here you could see it was backed up to 45 megs. So again, with 32 megs blocks, this should be 2 blocks. Should clear this all the way down to the bottom, right?
Right.
But no, it took 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another one right there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 blocks to clear 45 megs, which should have taken 2 blocks. Why? Why are they mining such small blocks all the time? Now here it got up to 51.2 megs. Again, with 32 meg blocks, it should be 2 blocks and you're done. But no, it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think this one right there, 11.
There's another
12,
one, yeah, there.
Yeah, maybe right here, 13. Let's not count that, I'm not sure. So this would be 13, 14, I think there's one right there, but let's not count it. 15, 16, 17, 18 to get to the bottom.
Damn.
So this took somewhere between 16 and 18, maybe even 20 if you count these little jaggies in here.
And that's a good chunk of the day as well. That's a lot, you know. That's
why? Why, Luke? Why, when you have 32 meg blocks, this should have been done in 2 blocks?
They don't want those nodes tripping over each other, mate. That's what.
Looks like it to me. looks like that quote was valid to me. But why have this network that can handle 30 that has a 32 meg? I guess it can't handle it, right? Now
Right.
there are some bigger blocks in here. Like I think this one right here is maybe 8 megs. Let's see, it went from 42 to 33. So yeah, that's about 8 or 9 megs there. So, but it doesn't do big ones in a row, right? It won't do big ones back to back. See, after it did this big one, then they did some small ones. Small, 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 then another big one here, then small, 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 and a kind of medium one here. But even when I'm saying big, these are still less than 10 megs. Why? Why when you have 32 megs? I guess they would trip over each other. So in that article, Roger says that the BCash is this restriction that dev was talking about, which his quote has been taken out of this article, but that restriction, he says, isn't true. Really? Well, it's not showing me that in the data, Roger. Where can you show me where you're mining 32 megs block to, back to back, 32 meg blocks back to back? Where, Roger? Where are you mining 1? You could have mined 1 here. No. Could have mined 1.5 here. No.
I wonder if because I don't look at BSV stats all the time. I kind of try not to, and don't really get too mixed up in it. I wonder if BSV is having similar problems as well with their.
I did take a peek in there. It looked like they were mining bigger blocks a little more consistently, but you know, they have a 128 meg block limit right now, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. Yeah.
And you know, they did have, as far as I know, the biggest block they've ever mined was a 60 meg block, and that took 40 minutes to propagate. So how could a 60 meg block take 40 minutes to propagate throughout the network when blocks come in every 10 minutes? Can someone explain the math to me on that? I mean, this is what I've been talking about for years, ever since the big block debate started. You can't have big blocks. The math doesn't work. You can't propagate it. You got to do these little small transactions offline, like in the Lightning Network. It's that information isn't important. It doesn't need to be stored on the blockchain, right? So it just needs to be done on Lightning, and you take care of all those little transactions there, and then it gets settled on the Bitcoin blockchain. It's really the best way of doing it, because every one of these transactions on the blockchain has to be stored forever. And the transactions in Lightning only have to be stored until that channel has settled. So it's a completely different animal there, and it's really the only way to go. I don't see a better way of doing it.
Understood. Dash. So here we go. Tell us about Dash. I know you've got a really great presentation to give us about Dash, about its origins, and about the history that a lot of people who are in the space now have no idea about. Rocky, the floor's yours.
Yes, thank you. Most people don't do their due diligence. They don't do their research for whatever reason. So I did it for you. So all they have to do is sit back and relax and enjoy the show. But I don't know how great of a presentation this is. I mean, at least the looks of it. I'm not into graphics and stuff. I'm into pure information content.
Facts,
so
yeah.
I'm just getting the details of the facts there, and it's not very fancy graphics or anything, but that's just the way I am. So I just do my best with this kind of thing, and here we go. So this is why I don't like Dash. So the pre-launch was December 29th, 2013, where Evan and Kyle asked for help to create a for-profit startup with private secrets. So they actually put out this email to the developers of Bitcoin, looking for help with this project they're starting. And so you can see here where they say it is for-profit startup, and you can hear in the second paragraph, you can see that they can only give you so much information until you sign a non-compete, non-disclosure agreement.
Wow.
So guess what? There are no NDAs or non-disclosure agreements in Bitcoin. Everything is free and open, right? It's a free network. Anyone could join just by joining it. And
it's a
getting on it.
community.
And yeah, and it's open source, completely open. There's no behind doors, backdoor contracts or information being withheld like this is here. This is just ridiculous when it comes to a open source worldwide, currency. It's not what I want in my currency. This to me seems more like something USD would do, and I'm trying to get away from USD. So that was the first thing that I didn't like about Dash. So there were many issues with it in the beginning, but there was one point where Evan said, he was basically the main guy, Evan Duffield, and he said, we're definitely not going to launch in the next few hours, and then they did.
God.
And of course that led to the pre-mine. So on January 19th, they pre-mined, or what they call an insta-mine. I'm sorry, it's an insta-mine, but to me it's a pre-mine, because they basically mined almost 2 million coins in the first 24 hours. Now in Bitcoin, it took 9 months to mine that many coins. So this was basically a free-for-all for the handful of people who were in it from the beginning and who were mining it from the start to just get in and just get a bunch of coins basically for free. Very little electricity, very little effort. So that's basically a pre-mine. And then they went and discussed it in their little talk forum. Oh, this was a mistake. It was a problem with the code. Really? You didn't test your code before you launched to see if it was super easy to mine?
Right.
What's up with that? So they discussed it and said, oh, should we start over or just keep going? So a bunch of people got a bunch of money for free. What do you think they're going to say? They're going to say, oh, no, it's fine. Let's just keep going.
Yeah,
now,
to see here.
Yeah, if this was me, let's say I'm Evan Duffield. Let's say it's Rocky Palumbo instead of Evan Duffield, and this happened. I would say, oh, sorry, folks, false start. We're starting over. We got to get this right from the beginning. We need to redo this 24 hours. If we want a stable chain that's fair, we can't have it super, super easy to mine the first 24 hours and then harder for everyone else. That's not fair.
Right.
But that's not what they did. So that's another thing I don't like about Dash. And of course, so this basically was a major benefit to the few people who were in it from the beginning. So it started off as, Dash actually started off as Xcoin. They changed their name twice. And so this Xcoin had 84 million total coin cap. And then to escape the stigma from the Instamine, they changed the name from Xcoin to Darkcoin. And it was somewhere around there. Let me go to the next slide here. It's been a couple of years since I did this. Yeah, okay. So it was after that. Okay, so around this time, or a short time after that, they did create the Masternodes, which then it gives those people the right to vote and for different things coming up in the project. And they also, the Masternodes get 45% of the block reward. So that's basically proof of stake because they're not doing work.
45%. Wow. I didn't think it was that much. Wow.
45%. So the miners get 45% of the new coins minted, and that's proof of work because they're working for it. And the Masternodes get 45% of the new coins minted, and that's proof of stake because they have to stake 1,000 Dash per Masternode to run a Masternode. So and they get the right to vote. But Dash right now is what, about $70 or $80? So 80. So
Double check.
1,000 Dash at $80 is $80,000. So just imagine your government coming to you and saying, "Oh, we're voting for a new president."
Voting for Brexit.
Yeah, we're voting for Brexit, but you can't vote unless you have $80,000 locked up in a Masternode or locked up in a bank account. So that's what Dash is.
It's $72.59.
Okay, so that's
yeah.
So that'd be $72,000 locked away in order for the privilege to vote on upcoming projects in Dash. So I don't like that at all. It seems ridiculous to me. Let's see the next slide here. Okay, here it was sometime after that they changed the total coins to be ever to be mined from 84 million to 18 million. And then at this time, they rebranded from Darkcoin to Dash. So they went from Xcoin to Darkcoin to Dash, all to escape these major shady things they've done.
Stigmas, yes.
Yes, from the false start with the Instamine, that's really a pre-mine, to changing the total limit of coins from 84 to 18. Every time they do these big things, they change the name to try to escape that history. Which again, just benefits the few people from the very, very beginning. Because it makes the value of the coin go up. But everyone buying it after that, oh well, you
late to the party
right there in the beginning. Yeah. We don't care about you. We only care about this handful at the beginning. So then Evan Duffield is interviewed by a Dash publication. So I'm going to show you a Dash publication here. And he basically admits to being a thief. So he says that he was working on Dash, very frantically to try to get it launched. And while he was at work, right in through here, I can't highlight it because this is a graphic. It's already highlighted in blue here, but it's towards the end.
Understood.
He was getting yelled at his boss for being caught, working on Dash while he's supposed to be working at work, right? So he's basically stealing from the company he works for. Instead of he's getting paid for doing his own personal project instead of doing the work he's supposed to be doing at work. So then he goes on to say, I eventually got Dash stable enough to work on full time and decided I really wanted to explore what it could do. So he says that he quit after that. He says, I eventually quit when I got Dash stable enough. So who does that? That doesn't make any sense to me. If you had some personal thing going on in your life that you needed to work on all day long, even at work, right? Wouldn't you just ask your work for some leave of absence, right? Wouldn't you ask for 2 weeks off or 4 weeks off or 6 weeks off?
Manage your time. You manage your time accordingly.
Right. To take care of this personal thing. And then when you're done with that personal thing, you go back to work. So for him to say, I got yelled at for working on Dash at work several times. And then when I got Dash good enough to where I could actually get back to work, I quit. No, that doesn't make any sense to me. So I believe he's lying here. What happened was he got yelled at work one too many times and he got fired. He got his butt canned at work, but he doesn't want to say that. So he says he quit. So does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or am I the only one that's not seeing that there's something screwy going on here?
He's telling the story, but distorting fragments of the story to fit the whole agenda. Yeah, it makes sense.
Right, which he doesn't want to tell people that he got fired. So he's trying to make it sound like he wanted to quit, but it doesn't make sense. This is the point where you really go back to work, not where you quit, because it's stable now. You don't need to work on it at work. You could just work on it at your free time at home. So yeah, I totally believe that that's a lie right there. And that he's basically, but he is he's totally admitting that he's stealing from his employer by doing other work at work and getting paid for doing other work when he's supposed to be doing his work.
What was the work? Just out of being nosy, what was the work that he was doing? Was it like just?
I don't ever remember him talking about the details of his job.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm assuming it was something on a computer which gave him access to a computer so he could write his own code
That's a good
while
point.
at work.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I can assume.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay, so then sometime later after that, after January 22nd, 2014, they added the Instamine and, not the Instamine, the InstaSend, I'm sorry, the InstaSend for an extra fee. So basically it was kind of like a transaction that the Masternodes approved and kind of locked down those inputs to not be spent on anything else.
Didn't it go through Masternodes? Yeah, it went through Masternodes first, didn't it, or something, from what I remember? And then they went to the other nodes, to the sort of standard nodes.
The Masternodes kind of locked down those inputs, so they couldn't be used in another transaction. But you know, the transaction really isn't final until it's on the blockchain, though, right?
Right. Yeah.
So at least in this method of doing it, I definitely consider Lightning payments on Bitcoin to be completely different. They are Bitcoin transactions, multi-sig transactions that cannot be reversed, right? Because of the way that Lightning is designed. So this, and it's for an extra fee. At least at this time, it was for an extra fee. I believe recently they changed that I guess all their coins are InstaSend now. Or is that the private send? I think that's the private send. Anyway, I don't know.
I'm not
too sure.
Care.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. I have no idea. Yeah.
I just don't care enough about this chain to even look into it, very, very much anymore. Because, there's so many shady things in the past that I don't trust the network at all. So
I'm still waiting to see what happened with Dash Evolution, but no one ever seems to know what's going on with that. So
yeah, that was supposed to be out 2 years ago now, and I think this November.
No one talks
December,
about it. No one talks about it.
It's always like 1 or 2 months away recently, from what I understand.
In our last, when we spoke about Dash in the last video we done, all the people who were commenting, sticking up for Dash, none of them mentioned Dash Evolution. Like, I was like, "Where's Dash Evolution, guys?" So yeah. Go on, sorry, carry on. Sorry, yeah.
No problem. But when they did add this InstaSend feature, there was an extra fee for it, which went directly to the Masternodes. So not only did the Masternodes get that 45% of the block reward for doing nothing other than staking their coin, now they're getting this fee, or at least back then they were getting this fee for doing the Instamine. So let's see what this next one is. Okay, so and around the same time they added the private send, which again was an extra fee, which again went to the Masternodes, which I think they've changed that now. I think every transaction on Dash is private send now, but because of that, excuse me, I had a cough. So because of that, they got delisted from an exchange.
Yeah, some exchange in Asia, wasn't it? I think they were delisted from an exchange last year as well, or at least some privacy coin was. And then and like you just said, there was like a recent thing where Monero, Dash, I think ZK as well, were like kind of thrown out.
Yes, I believe it was an exchange in Japan.
Yeah, they're quite they're kind of rules on it all and everything. They're very like pro crypto. They kind of suffered the whole Mt. Gox thing on their home ground. They're quite zero tolerant on shitcoins and their shenanigans.
So I think this could be a sign of the future that these privacy coins could have the privacy on the base layer, right? That can't be confirmed how many coins there really are, or what's in these transactions on the base layer. These coins could be on the chopping block of many exchanges here in the future if other exchanges follow suit. In the article, I remember reading it was because of some new regulations put out, in that region, which is the reason why that exchange delisted those coins. And so, are they just the first of many, or is this a one-off? We'll see.
Time will tell. Time will tell. But it is interesting because Japan is one of the major economies. So it is interesting to see that.
Okay, so that was basically it. And I just, recapped it from there. It's just all the bad things that they did is, it's a for-profit with an NDA. To me, that's just ridiculous. That, there's There's no non-disclosure agreements in Bitcoin.
Right.
The Instamind greatly benefited the elite few from the beginning, and the Masternodes again benefit the elite few. Changing the market cap from 84, or the total coins to be created, from 84 million to 18 million, again benefits the elite few from the beginning. They changed their name twice to have 3 different names. Don't like that. They added more features, which again benefited the Masternodes, which are basically the elite people from the beginning. And so where does that lead us today? Well, today they had the recent news about Dash is that they made it onto Coinbase, a major exchange. And so they got a price pump.
Everything that gets listed on Coinbase gets pumped temporarily.
I was just going to say that typically when you see this happens, it's a temporarily pumped, and then the price goes back to close to where it was before,
Dumps
which
hard.
looks to be what it's doing. Let's see, I think
Dumps
it was
hard,
around September. I think it was around here is when it made it on Coinbase. So it got this pump up to here, and then definitely pulled back a bit, and now looks like it's turning down again.
Right.
Here at the end. So it didn't do all that much. And if you look at, let's look at the whole history of Dash's prices. Oops, that's the last slide. Okay, so here it is under the name Darkcoin on January 12th, 2014. And you see it's the number four coin on CoinMarketCap. Of course, this is not a very good, I've always said this is not a very good way of measuring the coin's value in total, but it is a way to get an idea of how big, how much money is in each coin compared to the other coins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Bitcoin's always in the number 1 position, and you see a lot of different coins in the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, and so forth, but Bitcoin's always number 1. So that ought to tell you something right there. So then so that was, let's see, that was June 2014. So March 2015, you can see it's got the new name Dash, and it's still number 4. Then March 2016, it moves to number 5. March 2017, moved back up to number 4. I just did kind of a yearly thing here. So March 2018, it moves down to number 12. Wow, what happened there? That's not too good for your favorite coin to just go from 4 or 5 down to 12 in 1 year. And so now in March of 19, just to stick with the March theme that I had going on there, because that's the first price I found back in the at the first slide. So in March of this year, slipped down to 14. What was it before? Yeah, 12 to 14. And then I did another screenshot when we were going to do this show last month when it was 16, went down to 16. But if you look at it today, a few weeks later, we actually got around to doing the show. Let's see, which one is this on here? It's 18th.
Damn.
It's 18th. So this recent pup in that it got for being on Coinbase didn't really help it much, did it?
Yeah, it seems like it's on a kind of decline.
Yeah, during that time that it was, well, from that slide that it was 16, it then got on Coinbase, and then it slipped to 18th place. So
The curse
really,
of Coinbase.
Yeah, really. And another thing I wanted to comment on about Coinbase or getting on Coinbase and getting pumped. What does that mean that the price did pump from around here, I think it was, when it got on Coinbase up to here? What does that mean? Why would the price go up merely because it got on a very popular exchange? I don't remember the price of Bitcoin going up just because it got on a new big exchange, right?
Right.
Never heard of that happening. But all these other coins, it happens. Why? Because the coin's not really sought after. right? If you wanted this coin and you were on Coinbase before this date here, before September of this year, you had to go sign up on another exchange that carried Dash to get Dash, right? So if you really wanted that coin, you would have jumped through those hoops to get it, right? If it was really valuable to you, you would have done whatever it took to get that coin. If you really thought it was a good project and you thought it was going places. But that's not the case. People didn't do that, at least not enough people to make the price pump. It only pumped when it got on basically the most popular exchange in the world. I mean, I don't know of another exchange that has more people signed up on it than Coinbase. Last I saw, it was like 26 million people.
Yeah, it's staggering. Yeah. It's Coinbase is like a really popular gateway into crypto.
Yeah, if you think about it, there's 24 to 20. I think it's like, I don't remember if it was 24 or 26. Let's go with the low number, 24 million. If there's 24 million people accounts signed up on Coinbase, you can't have one Bitcoin for every one of those accounts. There's only 21 million Bitcoin.
That's another thing as well. Yeah.
So what does that tell you? You better be holding at least one Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. And also, if the exchange, and because this kind of digresses, but if the exchange actually has the funds that match on everyone's balance sheet as well, that's another thing as well. But we can go into that another day.
Right. Well, that's more about exchanges in general. I mean, this is a deep dive on Dash here today, and so the other thing I wanted to bring up was, what was that? Their method for not having a 51% attack. These coins are. Oh, I forgot to add that. To add that screen. I'm going to go off screen share here because I don't want to dox myself here in trying to find the proper screen to show this. So that these chains are trying to protect themselves by using these what I call band-aids instead of just having pure hashing power, right?
Right.
I think we talked about this in the last show we did. But this is the deep dive on Dash, so we got to go back over this.
Indeed.
Okay, so here we are. Can you see the screen all the way over here to here?
Yes, I see the little video panels. I'll move that for myself.
And all the way on the left?
Yep, I can see that. So I think everyone else that watches this should see that too. Pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at the past 2 years, and let's add, so this is the hash power in Bitcoin. This is why it's so secure. There's nothing like pure unadulterated hash power to secure
permanent bull market.
Yeah, well, except for right here. Here's where we had the Bitcoin mining hash rate spiral of death. I think I went over this on the last show.
We have.
And there were all these articles being written right around here that Bitcoin is dying, Bitcoin is dead because of this downward spiral, that the lower the hash rate got, the lower the price would get, and the lower price would promote lower hash rate even still, and lower hash rate would promote lower price, and so on and so forth until it went down to zero and Bitcoin's dead. But it only did it for a short while. The price got around to the hash power got around to what the hash power was just 3 or 4 months before. Not a big deal.
It was no big deal. Yeah.
And then it did eventually level off and then just go up like crazy. But if I go to all time here, you could see that that same drop is represented right here. It does look quite dramatic on this scale. But if you're going to call this the Bitcoin hash rate spiral of death, then what are you going to call this? I call this the Bitcoin hash rate stairway to heaven, right? So where are all the articles being written about this stairway to heaven? I do see some articles being written about how massively the Bitcoin hash rate is going up.
As well.
But they don't have but they don't have this stairway to heaven headline, like this had the spiral of death headline,
Right.
So I want to see that. I want to see,
We might just get that, Rocky. You might just
get that. That just hit me. You write for a magazine, so you could, I just gave you a great clickbait title there. Bitcoin's hash rate stairway to heaven.
So watch this space.
Okay. So let's go to 2 years back to Dash, and let's add, well, you know what? Let's add the number 2 coin by market cap, which to me doesn't mean a whole lot, but it is a way of measuring how big the networks are. So
Good
here's
Ethereum.
Ethereum, and you add this, and look at that compared to Bitcoin. Can you even see it? It's this red line right along the bottom, right along the 0 line. Can you see that there?
Barely.
Right. So
But it puts it in perspective.
Yes. So during the past 2 years, this is Ethereum's hash rate compared to Bitcoin's hash rate, which just keeps going up, and Ethereum just keeps hugging the 0 line. So let's add BCash. So let's pick on them a little bit again. So there's BCash. They've been around 2 years, and you could see that it's even you know, if you average the past few weeks or months or so, I would say the average now is lower than it was when first few weeks of when it started, or about the same, where Bitcoin has gone way up from the same time period. It's way up many times. It's gone from around 10 exahashes to 100 exahashes.
It really didn't recover from that split, did it? Which is almost a year ago as well, actually. BCash.
This was
really...
2 years ago.
No, I mean the BCash BSV split. I mean.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, we could add that too. We could add BSV.
Go BSV.
Again, hugging the 0 line.
Yeah.
It's the green line here.
It's
right
almost
underneath.
a year since that hash war they had. Almost a year now.
Yeah, it was November of last year.
Yeah.
So we're coming right up on it. Yep.
And they haven't recovered at all.
Nope. So back to the the Dash Bash. We got to put Dash on here. Where does Dash stand with all this hash power? Well, I don't know. I can't even see it. It's in there somewhere. It's green. So it's this green line right along the bottom, which is hard to see faint. once you add BSV over here. So yeah, so they have no hash power. So this is why they have this 60% nodes locked down a block thing, which I guess would protect you from the 51% attacks that are designed to double spend, either double spend a transaction from private party to private party, or double spend a transaction to an exchange and then exchange that coin for the real thing, you know, exchange it for Bitcoin, and then roll back the Dash chain to get your Dash back. That would be a much longer block history. You'd have to remine or mine, you know, without broadcasting those blocks. So I guess what they come up with would protect them from those 2 types of 51% attacks, but there's a third type that this does not protect them against at all. And it's the exact same type that BCash did after they had their lockdown, which only locks down 1 out of every 10 blocks. But it doesn't matter the way Dash is doing it, even though they're locking down every block. What happened in BCash was they 51% attacked their own chain to edit those transactions that they didn't like. They censored those transactions out of the mempool and put in their own transactions to steal those coins from the original person who had the transactions in the first place.
Wow.
And so you could easily do this on the Dash network, because you could see, I mean, what this line represents here, this blue line in Bitcoin, is miners throwing tons of capital at mining hardware and electricity to mine Bitcoin. And nobody's doing it for any other coin because they don't believe in these coins. The miners don't believe in it. They're garbage, right? So where are they going to throw their money? They're going to throw their money at the one coin they think actually has a chance of being the first worldwide mass adopted currency. Well, the miners obviously believe this is Bitcoin. And so if one of these miners wanted to attack the Dash chain for a small fraction of the money they're throwing at to mine Bitcoin, they could not get 51% of the Dash hash rate. They could get 99% of the Dash hash rate and just simply mine empty blocks and just destroy the chain, because there's no transactions would go through if they mine empty blocks. And so basically what would happen is the 60% of the nodes in Dash would lock down the next block, which would be empty. It would only have the block reward in it, right?
Yeah.
And so this kind of attack would be extremely cheap to do on Dash compared to doing it on Bitcoin.
Right.
Extremely cheap.
Like I was saying before we started the show, I was reading about Eclipse attacks. How would that would be quite interesting how the chain locks would get around that. I need to read into it more, but if it can eclipse nodes from other nodes, would other nodes, like say the nodes that are like locking things down, they would these nodes that are locking the nodes that locking the blocks down, they would need to reach a type of consensus for when they lock for which blocks are being locked down. So if you do an eclipse, I need to read on it more. If you do an eclipse attack on one of them, wouldn't that screw up the whole chain lock process? I don't know. I need to read up on it more, but it's interesting though how it would actually, how much damage it could do to a network.
Maybe. I don't know that much about this Eclipse attack that you're talking about, and I don't know all that much about this Dash lockdown. What do you call it?
The chain lock, they call it.
Chain lock.
Yeah.
I don't know all that much about it. I just like I said, I just understand it's like 60% of the master nodes could then lock down the inputs or lock down the block.
That's another thing though. It's all about the master nodes again. Now, so with Dash, okay, so they're solving some problems with that. But if you're just solely relying on these master nodes, you got to put your trust in a bunch of singular authorities to ensure this type of security. So there's still like some central points of failure within that. I mean, from as you've discussed in your presentation, the masternodes is a small group of people, and if this amazing solution to double spend is all reliant on this very small group of people, that's not I'm not gonna be sleeping easy at night. You know what I mean? So that's another thing with this. The masternodes just have so much control, and it would be all right if it was like distributed and spread out, like random people all over the world had these masternodes. Okay, like you can sleep a little bit easier. But with these masternodes, because the small groups of people very likely will know each other, they can totally control the destiny and trajectory of Dash. So yeah, I mean, sorry, go on, carry on with what you're saying, man. I just wanted to add my 2 cents in there.
No, that's good. Yeah. I don't think they all know each other, but I think I think the vast majority of masternodes are owned by those handful of people in the very beginning that got their share of the 1.99 million Dash that was given out virtually free of charge during the first 24 hours of mining. And so when you got 2 million Dash and you got it for free, and why not, and it takes 1,000 Dash to start up a masternode, why not, to take with your share that you got for free out of the 2 million, maybe you got 500,000, I don't know. So why don't you start 20 or 30 or 40 masternodes? No big deal. Right? You got them for free anyway, or virtually free. But then there's the incentive. Like, why would somebody do this attack, the attack I'm talking about, where you would just block any transactions from getting through by mining empty blocks, right? Because miners could put in any transactions they want. They don't have to empty the mempool. They could just scrape off the top 10% of the most expensive transactions, or they could take 50%, or they could take 0% of the transactions and just get the block reward. So why would somebody do this? Well, if you're going to destroy this chain, you spend all this money, which isn't all that much money, right, to buy the hardware and the electricity to mine this, to destroy the chain, to make that the coins you do get are now worthless, right?
Can't you rent out the hash power as well? Like I'm pretty sure there's some pools out there with some pretty decent amounts of hashing power, and you can rent out hash power if you've got the capital.
I don't believe that works, because when you rent out hash power, people talk about this all the time, and I don't think that works, because when you rent out hash power, you don't control how the hash power is used.
That's true. That's a good point.
The person that's renting it controls that, and you know what they're going to do? They're going to mine it legitimately. They're going to mine it and get as many transactions as they can, and just mine it legitimately. So you'd have to have your own, mining farm. And, if you wanted to do a 51% attack, you would have to have your own mining farm and, mine without broadcasting the blocks until you got enough blocks to, to broadcast and change the history, like in Bitcoin. I'm talking about Bitcoin now, right?
Right.
So they always talked about doing this in Bitcoin. Oh, it's, for $86,000, you can rent the hash power to do it. Well, no, you can't, because number one, they might charge so many dollars per hash rate, whatever hash rate, and if you do the math, you'd find out it's some amount of money to $86,000 or whatever it was at the time. I forget. I mean, I haven't heard these numbers in about a year or two now. But saying that you would need that amount of money to rent that amount of hash rate doesn't mean that mining pool has that amount of hash rate to rent out, right?
That's also true.
Yes, they need that amount. Now, because they're doing some small amount, they'll rent you a small amount for some small amount of dollars. That doesn't mean you could just multiply that by whatever you want to attack the chain, number one.
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't have that amount. If they had that amount, they would be mining with it, right? So that's number one. Number two, you don't, like I said, you don't control how it's mining. They're going to control and they're going to broadcast the block, right? So so you can't do that either. So I don't think you can count this renting the hash rate as any part of attack on any coin, as far as I know. I never heard of hash rate that you could rent that you can control like that, and control other than controlling which pool you might want to mine on, or mine, from the same pool that you're renting from, but you don't have control of how it mines.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah, no, it's good points, because it gets thrown around quite a lot.
Right. So then why would you do it? What's the incentive of doing this? Well, what's the incentive of, people that walk through parking lots and key cars? Do you have that problem in England there?
Oh yeah, it happens. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, so they destroy all these cars for no benefit of themselves. So you just have some rich person who just hates Dash for this or that reason. So this proves that I'm not rich. This because I really hate Dash, because they just annoy me. You also know, because I'm not buying a bunch of hash power to attack the BCH networks. I'm not rich. I'd be really doing that too. I'd be doing both of them if I was a billionaire.
Noted.
So we established that. We all know Rocky's not a billionaire. But there are people who that were born with silver spoons in their mouths, and they're spoiled little brats, and they'll just do anything to just annoy anybody, just like somebody who walks by your car and keys it.
Right, they just want to disrupt everything and cause nothing but misery and chaos. Yeah. So
they could sit and in their $1 million mansion and say, ah ha ha, I was the one that destroyed Dash, and that's incentive enough for them. I'd sure like to be able to say that if I was a millionaire. Not that I'm that petty, but it's just so annoying. Just to prove them wrong, really. Just to prove them wrong.
Well, maybe one day when you get your chance, and
yeah, you'd have to be a multi-trillionaire to do such an attack on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to just throw away for the sake of it. You actually make more money in actually working alongside it and part of it, rather than trying to crash it and destroy it. Right.
Well, I could attack Dash with just being a millionaire, right? But I still wouldn't do it, because that would leave me broke. But if I was a billionaire, then I would take millions to attack Dash, and then I would still have plenty of money left over to enjoy.
To watch it in luxury, to watch the mayhem unfold in luxury.
Yeah, but it really wouldn't take that much. I mean, look at this graph. This says it all right here. What miner believes in Bitcoin, and what miners believe in Dash or BSV or BCH or Ethereum? You know, they just don't.
Litecoin's hash rate has also gone down in the recent weeks as well, actually. Since that whole Telegram chat with lack of developers on the Litecoin, in the Litecoin ecosystem, the hash rate took a big drop as well.
Yeah. Now, you know, Ethereum, they got an excuse. They're not even trying to be money, right? They're trying to be a smart contract platform. So they shouldn't even be listed on any kind of market cap ranking for cryptocurrencies, since they're not trying to be a currency. They're trying to be a smart contract platform.
Yeah.
You know, along with EOS and all the other Ethereum copycats. Why are they on there? I don't know. I mean, other than they're some kind of token that is cryptographically secured. So you know, I guess it fits in under that.
I remember seeing Ethereum developers saying, like, in videos and in interviews, they were like, this isn't a currency, this isn't a store of value like Bitcoin. It's like, don't look at it like that. But the market chose differently. But yeah, Ethereum isn't built to be a store of value. It's not built as money or you know, currency. That's not what it was supposed to be. Yeah.
Right, and if it was, it would be a lousy one, right? It has no total maximum ever to be created. It could be printed unlimited, you know, infinitely. So it's like the dollar bill. So that's what I'm trying to get away from, the dollar bill. I don't want a cryptocurrency that acts like the dollar bill. And the issuance is not set. Bitcoin, it's set from the beginning. They didn't change it from 84 million down to 21 million. It's been 21 million from the beginning, and it's been fairly mined from the beginning, and it has a set issuance from the beginning, that there's 50 coins per block for the first 210,000 blocks, and then that amount gets cut in half, and that's been a steady thing ever since the beginning. The past we're coming up on 11 years here. January will be 11 years.
Time flies.
So that's not true on Ethereum. Ethereum, they don't have a set issuance. If Vitalik Buterin thinks they need to print more next week, guess what? They print more. If Vitalik Buterin thinks they need to print less next week, guess what? They print less. And so what does that mimic? That mimics the dollar bill. Again, the currency I'm trying to get away from.
Right, the Fed and all that.
Yes,
all the royal mint over here.
Yes, I want the ability to conduct my life with sound money. Bitcoin is the best sound money, in my opinion. It's the best sound money ever created by man. It's the most sound money. And so because of that, I want, you know, Bitcoin, you know, to be accepted at, you know, all the merchants I do business with. I want to be paid in Bitcoin because, you know, it stores value much better. I mean, Bitcoin is up 86,000% the past 7 years. What's USD up? Well, it's not. It's down the past 7 years.
Plus 90%, yeah. Down, plus 90%, yeah. Same with the pound. Pound is a pile of crap, yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, another tweet from the 4 Satoshis here. Let's take a peek over here. Oh, this is a really good point about Dash. Oh my goodness, almost forgot this. So the past 2 years, and I do think that this is a tweet from a couple of weeks ago. So it's not exactly current, but it's still, the numbers are still pretty much the same, I believe. Actually, Dash is lower. Dash is, what is Dash? Oh, I gotta scroll down.
Bit lower, mate. Bit lower there, mate.
Yeah, 0.0084, right? So this was back when 3 weeks ago when it was a bit more, 0098, right?
Yeah.
So this tweet talks about the past 2 years history of Dash. So 2 years from when this tweet was tweeted, Dash had lost 91% of its value This is actually 2.5 years. It lost 91% of its value compared to Bitcoin.
Damn.
So now these Dash nodes, they stake their Dash, their 1,000 Dash, and they get that 45% of the block reward gets divided amongst all the nodes that are staking that 1,000 Dash. So when you do the math, at least recently, that works out to about 6% you make per year. So if you look at the past 2 years, not the past 2.5, I did the math a couple weeks ago. Which would look worse now, right? Because Dash has gone down. But using the math from a couple of weeks ago, if you held Dash the past 2 years, you would have got 12% more Dash, so 6% every year, right?
Okay.
So, but that 12%, that Dash plus the 12% would be down the past 2 years, 88% in value compared to Bitcoin.
Wow.
So you would have been far better off. You'd be, what, 76% better off. You'd have 76% more value simply holding Bitcoin the past 2 years rather than holding Dash in a masternode and getting paid 45% of the block reward on it, divided up amongst all the masternodes. So just buy Bitcoin, just hold Bitcoin. They're trying to find a better way to increase their value in some coin. Bitcoin doesn't have masternodes. You can't get this 6% like in Dash. Well, an extra 6% of something that's going down 88%, or an extra 12% in 2 years of something that's going down 88% in 2 years. I don't want to touch that. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
This is why we say.
Just give me Bitcoin.
This is why we say shitcoin for more Bitcoin. At the end of the day,
and it's why
Bitcoin
I
retains
say
the value.
Yep, and it's why I say buy Bitcoin and hodl. Just buy Bitcoin and hold it. You don't need all this. All this stuff is just confusing. Oh, but you can make more money with a masternode. You get more coins. I don't want more coins if the value of that coin is going down drastically.
But let's always go back to this to the simple rule books that I always remind everyone about, and I've always mentioned in videos. Most altcoin projects, if not all, and we covered it in the last video as well, and the video before that, all these altcoin projects, what do they always ask for? They want Bitcoin. They want Bitcoin. That's what they always want. Okay, so everyone's favorite shitcoin goes up 10,000%, 1,000%, 2,000%. But when it's time to dump, take profit, for people so that the insiders can pay their mortgages, go on holiday, buy a new car, buy some property, buy some gold, they dump it for Bitcoin. It's as simple as that. That's what they're after. They want that Bitcoin. That's why for a good 2 years, we've been saying shitcoin for more Bitcoin. It's because it's the simplest way to help people understand the blunt reality of things in the space with these altcoins. Not not saying that every single altcoin is terrible. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that most, if not all, of these projects want the Bitcoin. It's as simple as that. And that's why they give you these shitty tokens. I remember, I don't even want to digress, but I remember saying like 2017, ICO tokens you can't pass on to your grandkids, dump them. What happened half a year later? Down 90%, wiped. It's always shitcoin for more Bitcoin. That's just how, if you're dealing with these penny stock style altcoins, shitcoin for more Bitcoin, don't fall in love with them because you get wrecked. It's a jungle. But yeah, I was going to ask you.
I think that's a really good point. And speaking of that, I made my own coins here, these Rocky coins, and I will sell these to you for Bitcoin.
Buy them now. No, don't really buy them. It's not investment advice. Someone will actually do it.
So if I made a coin that I valued, right, that is better than Bitcoin, why would I accept Bitcoin for it? Why? There we
go, right? If you say, oh, that burger is really nice, give it to me. And, and then someone else is saying, no, that's actually horrible. But they still want it. Why do they want it? Why do they want it? See, this is the thing, and this is what people don't get, and this is what people need to remember. This little bit of reality with it. But what I was going to ask you as well in regards to Dash's privacy sending. How anonymous is it? Because I've seen the debates online, Dash versus ring signatures and Dash versus ZK-Snarks. How superior is Dash's, because it's basically mixing from what I understand. I don't know the full details of it. It's like whatever. But is it actually as superior and anonymous as people say it is or think it is or want it to be?
Don't know, Luke. Don't know, don't care. I mean, I don't have enough interest in Dash, knowing its very shady beginnings, to look into it. I just don't care about Dash, other than letting people know its shady past, so they can make up their own decision whether they want to, you know, hold a coin that has such a shady past. Because, you know, people are lazy and they don't want to do their own due diligence. They don't want to do their own research. Well, I did it for you. There you go. Make your own decision. But I don't know about this technology. There's so many things in Bitcoin. Every time I learn something in Bitcoin, I also learn that there's 10 more things I need to learn about Bitcoin. And I'm very interested in Bitcoin and Bitcoin's technology. And I find all these other technologies like, you know, the Mimblewimble and so forth, I find it interesting. But, you know, there's something I do when I have a little extra time. You know, researching those technologies is something I do when I have, you know, a little extra time, you know, because I want to spend most of my time, you know, on Bitcoin. There's just too much to learn.
Yeah, there's loads. There's loads. I mean, I've got like the books, and it's just, you can never stop learning with this kind of stuff, and it's moving so fast.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of reading, finally getting around to read the Bitcoin Standard.
Yeah. I need to read, catch up on a lot of reading. So I buy so many books, and then it just, but they're there. The knowledge is there. Never stop learning. Any other kind of closing thoughts before we end this? Any other things you want to share with us? Or anything?
Buy Bitcoin and hodl.
Right.
I don't know what else. This is not financial advice.
Not financial advice.
It's friendly advice.
Friendly advice, educational advice. Okay, people, you hear it. All the links will be below to everything, you know, what we've talked. You know, previous videos, the shitcoin for more Bitcoin series, the Eclipse attacks, all that kind of stuff. If you're a Dash supporter, feel free to comment, man. Like, it's all good. Everyone's welcome. And thank you everyone for joining in, and catch you all next time for more mayhem.
Yeah, can I make a comment on that?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Because when I used to do my meetups, there's a really nice guy that you know, we've become friends over the years.
Yeah.
And he's into Dash a lot. So, you know, him and I have some really good discussions. And then, so, you know, I don't hate the Dash people, right? The people who are into it, you know, I feel sorry for them because they got blinded by this marketing, that they have really good marketing, right? And
You're very good, yeah.
I hate marketing. Marketing to me is like a used car salesman. They'll tell you anything you want to hear to get you to buy that old clunker, right? And, you know, of course, if you go to a Ford dealership, you know, he's going to talk about how great Ford cars are and how awful Chevys are. When you go to a Chevy, it tells you how awful Fords are and how great Chevys are.
The rehearsed sales pitch, yeah.
Yeah. I see the Dash people as the same way, or the people really promoting Dash the same way. They're really talking up, you know, this thing that they're benefiting from, and a lot of lies about Bitcoin, like, you know, the Amanda B. Johnson or ABJ is.
I remember when she went on to AMTV, ABJ. Fuck's sake. What was I saying? I remember when she went on AMTV, that YouTube channel guy that talks about like government and stuff, and she was kind of bashing Bitcoin. He removed the video. I couldn't find it. I think his name Christopher Green. He removed the video, but I remember that. That was funny.
I remember her on an interview with Adam Meister, I think it was, where she said, she was talking about the governance in Dash, and you know, how, you know, you don't get to vote in Dash, you don't get to be heard in Dash unless you lock away 1,000 Dash in a masternode,
Yeah.
right? So she was talking about how great this is, where I see it as, a detriment. But she was saying that in Bitcoin, the miners do the voting and for the governance, and miners make very poor governors. And I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? The miners don't vote. There's no voting in Bitcoin. It's consensus.
Right.
If anybody votes in Bitcoin, it's the node operators, because that's running the software.
Right.
So even the core developers aren't in control of Bitcoin. If they put out an update that the people that run the nodes don't like, the people that run the nodes won't run that software, and guess what? It's not part of the network if the node operators don't run it.
Simple as that.
Yeah, there's no, hey Amanda, there's no voting in Bitcoin, and the miners don't vote. They signal their readiness for an update. They don't vote.
Another saying I got from a movie is Bitcoin is not just money; it's a people. It's a people. It's a community. One thing that the Dash trolls, and I noticed that the trolls is only like a set group of accounts that were around back in the day in like 2016. It's like only like a select few. But they one thing they never mention is Dash Evolution. I'm still waiting on that. So if anyone can point me in the right direction on Dash Evolution, please point me. I've been asking for years, and I ain't seen nothing. Absolutely nothing. Maybe there's a white paper on it. Maybe there's a download for it. But it was supposed to be PayPal 2.0. I was excited. I'm still excited. I don't know where it is, but yeah, if people want to show me where that is, go for it, because I've seen absolutely F4 with that.
Yeah, well, my Dash friend talks about it, how it's always going to be coming out here soon. But, and I've talked to him and I've emailed him messages about, how he would have been much better off just holding Bitcoin, than having a masternode. Especially, the past two and a half years would have been much better off, because just the nosedive in price. And it looks like the little bump from getting on Coinbase really didn't help much. And it looks like half of it is already whittled away.
Well, yeah, we could very easily go into how Coinbase pumped the BCash price like 2 years ago, but that's another story for another day for people who are new to the space. Don't trust Coinbase. Don't trust any exchange. Okay, so thank you very much, people. Catch you next time to cook more shitcoins. Cheers. All right,
Bye-bye.